Welcome to Sports Xtra, your premium online sports show. And my name is Ruvimbo Chakoreka. I'm your host. I'm riding solo today, but guess what? The news that we're bringing you is not going to be solo at all. Highlanders took on Dynamos yesterday in local football, and these were some of the scenes. And of course, in some of the other stories, we'll be looking at local rugby, schoolboy rugby. Well, I'm a happy camper. I'm a Churchill boy, and Churchill beat Prince Edward. But did they really beat Prince Edward? There are issues and allegations around age cheating that are also taking place there. And then we also look at the big result for the Goshawks. It's now 3 out of 3 games right now, 3 on the trot that they've been able to win. And we'll see how they went about business in that particular regard. And on the international scene, well, it is the Scousers, the Reds. They are the ones that are singing and making the streets red. It is 2 trophies out of 4. Can they continue and bag the quadruple? Well, let's see whether that will happen. All this and more coming through after the break. So welcome back. Let's look at the local derby, Highlanders versus Dynamos. As you saw in the introduction, the scenes were very ugly. And this is some of the stuff that is coming through in local football, which is making it unpopular. They've been asking the questions, why can't we get many fans coming through to the grounds? I don't think with my wife and my child, I would have been able to go and watch Highlanders versus Dynamos. Highlanders had scored their goal. Bill Antonio got a red card after a horrendous challenge against Andrew Tandy, and that just sparked absolutely everything. And with that, violence came through from both Dynamos and Highlanders supporters. Now, if Dynamos and Highlanders are to go about business in this kind of a way, what does it do to the stature of the rivalry itself? We know it's a rivalry that has spanned through decades and through many years, even from independence. We all know that Dynamos and Highlanders has always been the match to watch. The Battle of Zimbabwe, as some would tout it. I would call it the Battle of the Cities, as Highlanders is the biggest club in Bulawayo, whilst Dynamos is arguably the biggest club within the city. I'm sure Caps United supporters would have something to say about that one. But let's look at Dynamos and Highlanders as a rivalry itself. Is it still a battle to talk about? In the last 7 encounters, Highlanders have been able to overcome Dynamos. Dynamos have not been able to notch up a victory in those 7 encounters, whether it's coming through as a draw or it ends up in a defeat for them. Tondra Indiraya already with this encounter against Highlanders was already trailing by 1-0 at the time that these these ugly scenes came and wreaked havoc within our local football. So the question is, does it deserve any level of respect? Well, there's actually a professor at the MSU Midlands State University who says that Highlanders and Dynamos is right up there with the rivalry of Al Ali Zamalek, with the likes of Esperance of Tunisia versus Etoile du Sahel, with the likes of, in South Africa, Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates. But the glitz and the glamour of it has definitely been tainted by all of this violence, and of course has been weakened by the fact that Dynamos has not been able to come to the table. I'm sure there will be a return leg, and when that return leg comes, Tondra Indiraya will be looking to make amends for such. We take a short break. When we come back, we look at the rugby news. Welcome back. Well, rugby, I'm excited because the schoolboy rugby season is back, and it's back with a bang. It is weekend 2 that we witnessed over this recent weekend, and I can tell you some really good rugby was played and some surprising results actually came through. But this one wasn't a surprise, it was a celebration for me. Yippee!
Let's go! Oh, tennis! Oh, freaking to wire! Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck! Oh, fuck! To wire!
That was the Churchill haka, and that shows that they won. Churchill doesn't do the haka if they don't win. So Churchill winning 25 points to 15 against Prince Edward. It was a tough encounter. I did a little bit of commentary around that one. But did Churchill really win? Well, there are questions and allegations around some of the players that represented Churchill. And apparently from the Derby Day Festival, which was hosted at St. John's College, Sean D'Souza, the head coach for the Prince Edward Tigers, alleged that Churchill was using club players, those that are 21 years and above, in order to play schoolboy rugby. While we did see a shift in terms of the lineup when we actually observe quite nicely, because a number of the boys that played for Churchill in the Derby Day Festival actually came from Alan Wilson. Now, how does this taint the image of Churchill? Churchill, give or take, has got an enrollment of close to 1,400 boys. And I remember back in the day, 1,400 boys were all expected to play rugby in second term. However, we knew that was an impossibility because there would be hockey, there would be soccer, there would be all sorts of other sports that they would have to participate in. But if your trunk was coming through into hostel, whether it was Spencer or Winston Hostel, it had to have a rugby jersey in second term. So the question is, why isn't there an uptake of rugby in the way that it needs to be at Churchill? And it looks like the development has really been happening at first team level, whilst most of the junior teams are struggling to win. With the results as well coming against Prince Edward, the under 14s, the 15s, the 16s, as well as the under 17 team all lost to Prince Edward. So it shows that in terms of the development structures, maybe not looking as strong as they should for Churchill. Also, another question was a picture that is circulating within rugby circles showing a youngster that played for Churchill but apparently is working. He's not even in school, but apparently has been enrolled into the Churchill Bulldogs setup. So this definitely makes it a case for all of the private schools that have said, look, we don't want to play against Churchill anymore because we feel varikutakura madara. But anyway, let's move away from that. There was a stunning result that happened in Chinoy, and I did predict it. I thought it was going to be the match for the weekend, and it was. Lomagandi beat Peterhouse. Yes, take that in, let it simmer, let it really settle. Lomagandi beat Peterhouse, 23 points to 19. Going into the last minute, Peterhouse were leading 19 points to 18, but a last-minute try from Lomagandi was able to take that win. Now, Lomagandi have been undefeated throughout from the Derby Day Festival coming into the season. Now, Bob Mahari used to coach with Jeff Madaki at Churchill, but he left the Bulldogs for the Bisons. And guess what? He's doing a fantastic job. All of these youngsters are just showing the kind of quality they can deliver. Don't forget, Lomagandi is a co-ed school and they are delivering results. When you're a co-ed school, you've got a lower intake and a lower uptake for schoolboy rugby. But well done to Lomagandi for beating Peterhouse. And then in Bulawayo, while it was a walkover for the Mad Dogs of Falcon, they won 32 points to 7 against Christian Brothers College. So let's see how the season continues to move from here with the St. John's College, who many have touted will most likely dominate the schoolboy rugby season, beating their age-old rivals 33 points to 19. That's St. George's, the Dragons. So not looking too good for St. George's right now because they came from a festival in South Africa. Many would have thought that they would have been strong, but here we are. They beat CBC, but they were found wanting against St. John's College. Well, let's move away from schoolboy rugby and go on to the international scene. And Zimbabwe Goshawks, which is more of a development side, but is carrying the bulk of the Sables setup, beating the Border Bulldogs 18 points to 8 yesterday in what was a thrilling encounter. Well controlled, but ultimately well delivered as well. What happened? Well, Sean Bevo, as well as Shane Makombe coming through from his French side, scoring the tries. And then we saw Keith Chiwara doing very well with the boot to make sure that both the one conversion as well as 2 penalties were all between the sticks. So what does this mean? Well, for the Goshawks, it's 5 matches and they've now won 3 out of their 5 matches. They lost the first 2 and many would have thought that the campaign was going to be bad, but they decided to start picking up victories. They won against the Kenya Simbas. They beat the Bowland Cavaliers last weekend and they've beaten the Border Bulldogs more recently. So it seems like Brendan Dawson's side is shaping up. The inclusion of the under 20 youngsters, Brendan Marume, Takudzwa Msingwini, also bringing some added bite to the side. Also, the flying in of some of our top rugby players who are playing abroad, overseas, the likes of Tyron Fagan, Shingika Tsere, Shane Makombe, all flying in, adding more bite to the Sable side. So if they can finish the campaign at least ranked 3rd or 4th within this provincial competition, who knows, we might be called to the Currie Cup Premier Division in the not so distant future. We take a break, and when we come back, we're going to be discussing what is happening in the world of football. Yes, the Scousers, they continue marching on. All right. You cannot conclude matters here on Sports Extra without talking about what is happening on the international scene. In France, Ligue Rugby, it is done dusted. Paris Saint-Germain are the champions. In Portugal, FC Porto did the business. Chakoreka. In the Eredivisie, that is the Dutch Premier League, Ajax, Yagatora, Chakoreka. The Bundesliga, well, they sealed that one long before anybody else did. Bayern Munich has done the business. It is only 2 leagues that are left right now in order for them to know who will be taking the title. It's the Serie A as well as the Premier League. The Serie A, 1 game left, and the age-old rivals, it is the Milan boys there. AC Milan and Inter Milan are fighting it out. A 2 points difference with 1 match left. AC Milan sitting on top. They haven't taken the title for over a decade. And it's now them coming back to the fore. Well done to Stefan Pioli, Paolo Maldini for doing the business there. Simone Inzaghi, quite unfortunate. First season taking over and well, it turns to happen. But let's move over to the Premier League, where the race is really not just about the title, but it's all about something that would be historic, something that would blow the minds of British football supporters. That is the quadruple. Manchester United almost did it, but it didn't quite happen. They took the treble, and with that, they had their manager knighted. Would this be the same for Jurgen Klopp if he was to do it? Well, it looks like he is on his way. He picked up the League Cup against Chelsea in a penalty shootout. And over the weekend, he did another number on Chelsea again as he won the penalty shootout again. At least this time round, it wasn't a goalkeeper who skied it. In fact, taking a rugby kick. But it was Edward Mendy who did the business, kept Chelsea within the penalty shootout, only for the captain, Cesar Azpilicueta, and yes, the glorified British boy, Mason Mount, to do what he did best, and that was to hit it straight into Alisson's hands. So that means Liverpool now have got the League Cup as well as the FA Cup in the bag. Can they seal the quadruple? Well, I think it's a little bit difficult right now. The quadruple, in my view, was lost when Liverpool drew against Tottenham. That was a match that they were expected to win, but they came up against Antonio Conte, the Italian genius, who did the business, held them to a 1-1 draw, And now they are chasing the tail of Manchester City, who also themselves seem to be wanting to botch their entire season. They lost out on the League Cup. They lost out on the FA Cup. They were bundled out of the Champions League. The only thing that they can hold on to right now is the Premier League title, which they are leading by 2 points at the present moment. Liverpool are yet to play their match against Southampton. And if they can win that one, then that means Liverpool this time round will be able to cut down to 1 point. And at the end of it all, it will be Manchester City taking on Aston Villa, and they will have to win that one outright if they intend to actually retain the title. Now, if Manchester City can do this, this will be 3 titles in 4 years, a ridiculous record. For Liverpool, they've only got the treble, in my view, left. I don't think Manchester City would win against Aston Villa, but after that performance against West Ham United, who knows, is the Premier League title that is on the line. Well, my name is Ruvimbo Chakoreka. It brings us to the end of this episode of Sports Extra. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Our handle is @SportsExtraZim, and the extra, remember, is without an E. You can also follow our Facebook channel, our YouTube channel rather, which is Sports Extra ZW. You can like, you can share, you can subscribe, you can comment. We live off of your comments, we live off of your views, so we truly appreciate that. So until next time, and we bring you another premium online sports show, cheerio.